Thank you all. Welcome to this emergency meeting of Lynchburg City Council. And so what I would first like to do is we have a couple of council members who are not here, one of which we have heard back from that with the recent adoption of the rules of procedures for our meeting, we need to vote the opportunity for that council member to be called to be a participant in this meeting. So Councilmember Wright is available and would like to be on the call for this meeting. Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may, the point was brought up by Councilmember Heggelson just earlier that this meeting is technically in a violation of our rules of procedure. I think that it's important for us to have this meeting, but maybe before we take any action, if you would entertain them, if you would allow me to make a motion to suspend the rules of procedure, specifically section 2.2B, which regards the notification of the rules, and to temporarily suspend those until this meeting is adjourned.
All right, I would accept that motion. Thank you. The motion's been made and second. Are there any further questions or discussion?
No, Madam Mayor. I think he's absolutely right. We need to operate within our rules of procedure, and our rules of procedure allow us to suspend our rules of procedure when we need to. I think this is obviously a case when that should be done.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilmember Nelson?
I think because of the expediency of the circumstances, advance notice, as we normally require, cannot be complied with, and for the sake of the city, I think we need to move forward.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All right. I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan?
Aye.
And ayes have it. Motion is passed. Thank you very much. All right.
Did you need to ask? Is Bo on the phone?
No. Oh, now we can do the vote. Right. Right. Okay. So, yeah, you're getting him on the phone.
Yes.
All right. Everyone has the ordinance before you.
Is there anything, don't we have to concur?
Right.
that-
Okay. That it is okay.
I think we have to approve the
The call for
exigency of
Councilmember
the
Wright.
circumstances that would justify a
There we go.
remote vote.
For the most recently adopted rules of procedure, we have to vote for Councilmember Wright to be included in the meeting via a phone call. He is out of town, and so can I have a motion to have Councilmember included on the phone call? Councilmember Wright.
I'm so moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. The motion has been made and second. Any further discussion? All right, thank you. Any further discussion?
I don't, just a technicality, I think this is the ordinance that we passed, not necessarily a rule of
I'm
procedure,
sorry.
but the ordinance that we passed.
I'm sorry, you're correct.
Is that correct, Mr. Irwin? It puts us in line with the ordinance?
Yes, you amended your rules of
Procedure.
procedure. You have adopted an ordinance allowing members to participate electronically if council determines it's, appropriate to do so. So then the second vote would be to allow Councilmember Wright to participate in the meeting.
Great.
Okay.
Let's vote.
Thank you, and I'll call for the voice vote now. Councilmember Nelson? Aye. Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan? Aye. And I will also vote for that, so the motion has passed, and we will now wait to get Councilmember Wright on the phone.
I just tried to call him. I will try him again.
Okay. Yes.
While we're waiting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Councilmember Helgeson expressed a desire to participate, but if he were to contact the clerk, I think I would move that he also be included.
That's fine, yes, because he's been communicated with too. So if Councilmember Helgeson would like to participate, can I have a motion to also include him as well?
So move.
All right, the motion has been made in second, and I will call for a voice vote. Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan?
Aye.
And ayes have it. So if Councilmember Helgeson would like to call in, we can get him as well.
All right. I have not reached Councilmember Wright, but I will try a different phone number.
Oh.
Hmm? No, that's okay. No,
Have either of you heard from Councilmember Hagelson? Okay, or Councilmember Hagelson?
Hi, Bud. It's Robin.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm good. Can I call you from the phone that's in the council chamber? Because I think it's better to get on the microphone. All right, I'm gonna call you in a couple seconds. Thanks. All right, I'm gonna call from this phone.
So this is a first ever for the city of Lynchburg.
Yes.
Multiple times.
There are a lot of firsts right now.
And just for the viewing, we're live, correct? Okay, just thank you for the community for being patient while we're
Okay,
holding this meeting and for the media, so.
you're here in the meeting.
Please turn the volume.
Great, thank you.
Yes, I will do that.
Make sure that microphone is turned up.
And it's pointed right there. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I just text him. Robin, just in case, I've texted Councilmember Hagelson in case he wants to call into either you or me.
Okay.
Can he call on, is it a second line on there?
Well, he can call my cell phone and
Okay.
I'll put it on there.
All right, or Councilmember Pero, so we have reached out.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Now I will turn to the city manager, Ms. Severcek. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, these are indeed extraordinary times, and I really just want to thank you for you juggling your schedules for what you may have had planned for 4 o'clock this afternoon to deal with this emergency measure. So we have asked you to come today to amend and reenact the Code of the City of Lynchburg, 1981, by adding thereto a new section, number 27 to 29, relating to the declaration of curfews in times of emergency. So City Attorney Walter Irwin is going to walk you through this, and then just because you're here, I would ask that you also approve and affirm the declaration of a local emergency that I would normally have waited until your normal council meeting on June 9th to approve. So with that, I defer to Walter.
Council, this is an ordinance. The reason we're doing this is the state code gives the city manager the authority to take certain actions during, the declaration of an emergency. But the section of the state code dealing with a local emergency does not provide that those declarations are punishable. There are no penalties for violating those directives. Now, that's unlike the directives that the governor can issue during a state of emergency in an executive order. The state code provides that when the governor declares an emergency, then violations of the governor's conditions are a misdemeanor offense. That's why that the city of Richmond asked the governor to include a curfew for the city of Richmond in his most recent declaration, Executive Order number 64, so that if citizens do not abide by the declaration of the emergency, it would be a misdemeanor offense. This is the same thing here. This ordinance says that during a state of emergency, the city manager has the authority to declare a curfew. And if the citizens do not abide by the curfew, they can be charged with a misdemeanor offense. I do apologize. I just noticed that Deputy Manager Wodeka was kind enough to point out there is a typo in the ordinance on the second page. If you look at paragraph D2 in the second sentence, it has near the end of the sentence, person in control. That should be of. It currently has O1, and that should be an of instead of a 01. But that's, that's what the purpose of the ordinance is. There are concerns during the past few days that there might be activity that gets out of hand. So for the protection of the city, the police department has recommended that we impose a curfew, and we would need to have an ordinance on the books in order to be able to do that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Vercheck, do you have anything else to?
No, ma'am.
All right, council?
That's just a clerical error.
Yes,
so we
Councilmember
can fix
Pero.
that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One, I think this is important. I think we need to do it. Just before I make any other comments, I think we need to make sure there's another, it's just a little clerical area. I understand, Mr. Irwin, you wrote this several years ago and had it on your shelf, and we're able to bring it forward, as council didn't want to do it last time. Wherever we see the city manager, we need to have a gender-neutral component to that. So the city manager or their designee, as opposed to his designee. I see that on 1A in section 27-29, but there may be another one there.
Thank you.
So I've got some concerns about the increase in executive authority across the Commonwealth and across the United States, actually. And, the executives in those cases are elected officials, but in this case, it's an appointed official. I think that this is it provides a significant power to the city manager that I think we need to be careful about. And I think that council should take the time to deliberate this and understand what the connotations are. I understand it is critical to do this right now. So if council would be open to this, I would like to move to adopt the ordinance with the provision of a sunset clause, August 31st, 2020. At such time, it would automatically rescind without further action by council. So in a regular council meeting with time to really digest the language and understand the implications, that council can make a informed decision on this. I think at this point, though, it's important to put it in place, but I think it's equally important to sunset it until council has the time to really deliberate the pros and cons and what this means. I'm certainly open to moving that date either way if council or staff has a suggestion or a recommendation.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Pero. I saw Councilmember Nelson.
I would second, thank you, Madam Mayor, I would second that suggestion to have a sunset. Certainly, this is a heavy responsibility, and if in any way it can, it should be resting on the shoulders of the elected representatives of our citizens and not on a professional. Although, under these circumstances, I think for the reasons expressed this afternoon at the press conference, the circumstances are compelling to move forward with it, even though the city manager, on her own accord, has declared it. I do feel much more comfortable if there's a sunset provision in the ordinance, and we can deliberate it, as Councilmember Pero said.
All right, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Councilmember Wilder, Vice Mayor Dolan.
No, I agree with both of the comments. I would be more comfortable with the sunset clause. Absolutely.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright, do you have any discussion or input on that?
Sorry, was that for me, folks?
Yes. Can he hear me?
I can hear you now. I'm afraid I had a hard time hearing both Walter and Bonnie. I did hear Councilmember Pero. Thank you for speaking so clearly. It was you were easy to hear. I have not yet had a chance to read the proposed ordinance. So I don't think it'd probably be appropriate for me to vote on it right now. Perhaps Walter, am I permitted to vote absent, given or I'm wary of. I don't want to vote for anything I haven't read yet.
Madam Mayor, pursuant to our rules of procedure, the council can, I guess, accept somebody voting from abstaining from a motion. So, given what Councilmember Wright said, I would not object to him voting abstention.
An abstention.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Wright, you did receive, I know it was just given to you, but you do have a copy of it now?
No, ma'am. I still have not seen it.
Okay, all right. We'll make sure you have that. it was sent and it possibly just did not come through, so that's fine.
Okay. In that case, I will abstain, but I trust you all very much.
All right, thank you very much. And yes,
Just ensure that there is.
right. Is there consensus of that for Councilmember Wright to vote in abstention? Okay, thank you very much. All right, is there a motion to?
Been moved.
Yes. Oh, and it has been seconded already. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Councilmember Pero, Councilmember Nelson. All right. Vice Mayor Dolan, Councilmember Wilder.
Again, I'm just glad that we're taking some action as a precaution because of the situation that's happened in our state, in our country. We need to make sure we're taking some actions ahead of any more effects that could affect our community. So I'm thankful that we're being ahead and taking some action today.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. If there's no more discussion on that, I will now take a voice vote. Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder.
Aye.
Councilmember Pero.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan. Aye. And I also will be voting aye for that. Thank you. So the motion passes. Councilmember Wright?
Abstain.
All right, thank you very much. So with one abstention and 5 yeses, the motion passes for the ordinance. And next, we will take up our declaration of emergency.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. Before you is a declaration of a local emergency that I signed in the wee hours of the morning. And we actually rushed in getting this to you, so I need to make an amendment at the very bottom where it needs to say, I request council confirm this action June 1, 2020, period.
Okay. Thank you, council. Is there any further discussion for Ms. Severcek? Can I have a motion adopting the declaration of a local emergency?
Move to adopt as amended.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made in second. Any further questions?
I would just like to thank the city manager for her diligence and her work. I know it was a late, long night. I think this is the correct thing to do. And as was stated in the press conference, we just all hope that people can have calm, I guess, understand, have a calming presence. I think your words, Madam Mayor, were correct, and I think they were inspirational. I hope they were inspirational to many, and I hope that does provide a calming influence, and that this emergency will cease very shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Wilder?
Again, I just want to thank the city and the staff and the police department for working through all the hours of the night and having so many things thrown at them and other challenges that they had to go through. So we as a community, we are stronger. So because of these situations in life, we will rise above this, and we need to know that we are better than this, and we want to make sure we're protecting our citizens, protecting our neighborhoods, protecting the children of Lynchburg. I saw a child out there last night, so we want to make sure that we are doing our part to protect the citizens of Lynchburg so they can feel safe in their homes. And during this time period of crisis throughout this nation, we have to step to the plate, and we have to do what we have to do for this situation. So I'm so thankful to the city's leadership and our mayor for the press conference today, and really talking to the heart of the people so they can know that we all have to work together. We know we have several issues in our community, several issues in our nation, so we have to work on those together. We have to unite forces and continue that listening process, make sure we continue to move that listening process, not just have a listening session, but move that listening process so all voices are heard and that there's some action taken following that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will call for a voice vote. Councilmember Nelson? Aye. Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan?
Aye.
And I will vote also. Aye, so ayes have it. Councilmember Wright?
I will also abstain because I have not seen the resolution, but I'm grateful for you all being there and for your affording me the opportunity to join this call. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. The motion passes with 5 yeses and 1 abstention. Is there any further discussion of anything that, I know I wanted to ask the question, how and when will this be communicated to the public? I see our media here. And has the time been thought about yet? Because that is a question that will be the first asked.
So I wish I absolutely knew the answer to that, but I have been in meetings since we left the press conference. I will get with the public information officer at the police department as soon as I leave.
All right.
And we will get this out as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, is there any further discussion? Councilmember Nelson?
I do have a question on that. Since I am somewhat of a stickler on the rule of law, we've just passed an ordinance. It is technically in effect, but this afternoon at a press conference, it was publicly announced that tonight's curfew would be voluntary. And here we are, less than 4 hours away from what would be the time of the imposition of the curfew. Can this, should this, and this is directed to Walter, can this be imposed on our citizens with this very, very short notice?
I think that's a good point. Legally, I think it could be imposed now, but citizens could claim, well, gosh, we're told it was voluntary, so we were confused. We thought we could come out tonight. We didn't realize a curfew was in effect, so it might be difficult while you technically, legally, you could go ahead and charge someone. It might be difficult to make any conviction of violating the ordinance stick, since people could legitimately claim we were given inconsistent information.
Frankly, my recommendation to the police chief, who I thought was going to be here, but something must have superseded that, will be to continue with the news that we released earlier today to make tonight voluntary, and each day is going to stand on its own
Okay, thank you.
thereafter.
I really do appreciate the integrity of all of our first responders, and would expect that if there were a difficult situation tonight, it would be very well handled by all of our police personnel. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Verchik, is there anything else that you have for us this afternoon?
No, ma'am. I just, again, thank you. Please continue your prayers for our city, and we are better together, and we will get through this together. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that said, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.